everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Gentoo, your source for all things gaming and tech related. I'm Aaron James.
And I'm Wesley Ellington. Let's get right into this week's up-and-coming releases. You can see these games and many more released throughout the month on your favorite platforms.
This week is a good one for those who want to get behind the wheel and do some death-defying stunts, and also for those who want to take a trip into the world of VR.
Dangerous Driving for the PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 on April 9th. Dangerous Driving is a spiritual successor to Burnout. It is made by Three Fields Entertainment, which is made up devs who used to work at the studio that made the original Burnout games. Take to the road and crash into rivals, street traffic, poles, anything really in this exciting arcade racer.
The fourth Nintendo Labo Toy-Con, the VR kit, releases for the Switch on April 12th. Snap your Nintendo Switch into your cardboard VR headset and enjoy a whole bunch of different games, including flying through the sky, swimming deep in the ocean, taking out aliens with the Toy-Con blaster, and making art with the Toy-Con elephant.
Zenkai Zero Last beginning on the PC and PlayStation 4 on April 9th. Fight for survival as the last 8 humans remaining on this earth. Non-stop action survival RPG, you will have to fight against the forces of nature to survive. But in this game, dying is no problem. You can just clone yourself and come back to life, so it's no biggie.
These games and many more will be releasing throughout the month, so be sure to be on the lookout for them.
Up next, check out Aaron's Analysis with Aaron.
Hello, and welcome back to Aaron's Analysis. This week, as I sat in my room playing the new Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, I thought, what better way to celebrate this wonderful game than to revisit the title that tried to capture the magic of a Souls game and failed, which is exactly what Lords of the Fallen did. Not everything about this Souls clone is terrible, and there were a few things that they did that I liked that I'll talk about first. You get an XP boost from killing each enemy, but it resets at checkpoints, so not only do you have more incentive to not just ignore enemies, you also have a big incentive to skip checkpoints to build more experience. That relief you feel when seeing a bonfire is now mixed with a sometimes uneasy choice between actually using it and continuing. I feel like Dark Souls basically never gives you any reason to take risks, and I think that a cautious and punishing game should actually tempt you to be risky rather than caution being the best option 100% of the time. You can also make your attacks use less stamina by timing the next button press correctly after each attack, which doesn't sound like much, but since attacking is something that you're going to do constantly, it's something that you need to constantly think about. When you're against a boss, every bit of damage counts, so I thought it felt pretty great to do them all perfectly and get a couple more attacks in before my stamina ran out. Now for the bad. The attacks are all really slow and over-exaggerated, and they lack the feeling of weight from Dark Souls. They're slow, not because you're swinging a big hunk of metal, but because you're swinging a chunk of styrofoam that's getting caught in the wind. Waiting for your attack to hit is painful, and trading blows or tedious dancing around to time the end of your attack so that it'll just clip your enemy, giving you a chance to recover and dodge before getting hit, are far too common. The enemies don't feel well designed. It's like they didn't bother testing whether they're actually fun to fight against. Too many of their attacks cover too wide of a range and are too fast to recover against, and they often have too many ways of attacking you and no real effective way of fighting them. For instance, there's some flying wizard guys later in the game. They float around and shoot magic at you, and if you try to get in close, they have a fast attack that can one-shot you. And even if you do kill them, they self-destruct almost immediately. They're almost immune to magic, so ranged attacks are no good, and if they get low on health, they run away while sapping your life while in line of sight with your character. Even worse, they often appear in 2s or 3s with other enemies surrounding them. And though they're probably the worst, almost every enemy feels similar to this. One of the worst things was the lack of lore. You're in one location for most of the game, and it's not that great. The enemies are just bad guys for the sake of being bad guys. And the bosses were the nail in the coffin. They're just Executioner, or Commander, or Gladiator. In Souls games, most all of the bosses have beautiful lore behind them that makes those fights meaningful. Even if the fight itself isn't Ornstein and Smog tier, you can really appreciate that you're fighting an opponent with history and context. This never happens in Lords, they're just bosses, again, for the sake of being bosses. Also, the majority of enemies encountered in this game are just big guys in armor. Even the bosses could have been interesting in their design, but instead they ruin it by going and adding big guy with armor and a weapon. For example, there's a man-scorpion boss, whose top half is a guy in armor with a spear. He fights pretty much like any other big guy with armor, and they aren't even that different of designs. They all look the same, just bigger, wider, or spikier on their armor. The most I can say for the game is that the combat had its moments, but that's mostly because it was copying a far better game. I wanted to like it, to have some sort of alternative fix for a Souls-type game, but playing it shows you how many things make Souls. It's not a similar combat or death system, it's enemy design, level design, character options, the atmosphere, and so much more. I do still applaud the effort, and I will take any game in the vein of Dark Souls that I can get my hands on. Thanks for listening. Next up we have Trevor with This Week In.
Hey, what's up gamers? My name is Trevor and welcome back to another episode of This Week In here on Gentoo and KNWT Channel 8. This week is going to be a little bit different. I'd like to talk a little bit about the nature of the gaming industry and give my thoughts on how it is changing and also reflect on some substantial news pertaining to game development. At the time of recording this segment, Kotaku's Jason Schreier dropped a bombshell of an article detailing the development life of EA and BioWare's Anthem. The article takes roughly an hour to read, so I'm only going to have time to talk a little bit about some of the points Schreier brought up. But I basically would like to use this news as a way to sort of voice my personal opinion on gaming as it pertains to me. Schreier interviewed roughly 18 developers for BioWare. This included developers that worked on Anthem and other BioWare projects, as well as previous employees with the studio. The game wasn't even supposed to be called Anthem. Originally the project was dubbed Beyond, but trademark licensing efforts proved too difficult. The project had at least 6 years of development time, usually an indication of well-developed and polished games. Unfortunately, most of development time was just pre-production, roughly 5 years. This meant that actual development, like asset production and actually building the game, started only 12 to 16 months before launch. Which is absolutely crazy, but honestly kind of impressive at the same time. Aside from this whole situation being a clear indication of mismanagement, I just want to say it's incredibly disappointing as a gamer to see the industry moving in this direction. And it's not just BioWare, these kinds of situations and releases have kind of been a trend in recent years, at least from my perspective. I'm a huge Dragon Age fan, and although I thought the last title was good, it certainly drew large skepticism and criticism. That has only been made more apparent by devs from this article. Even Dragon Age Inquisition suffered from a similar development situation as Anthem. Mass Effect Andromeda is yet another example. Battlefield 5, although not developed by BioWare but still published by EA, launched in an incredibly unfinished state. As much as I like to hate EA because I think the company certainly deserves it, this fluke with Anthem was almost entirely on BioWare's shoulders. I just don't understand how games have seemingly gotten worse over the years. To me, it just seemed like games used to be taken better care of or managed better to a point where they were finished when they came out, instead of launching in a horribly unfinished way, only to take players' money and spend the next several months, or in some cases years, fixing the issues that should have been addressed during development. It's just incredibly frustrating that I have to think twice when I see a new trailer for a game that I would have otherwise been super excited for. Getting back to the Kotaku article, Anthem's 2017 E3 gameplay reveal trailer was almost entirely fabricated. The devs didn't even know that the showing was the game they were working towards. BioWare essentially just developed a specific showing for the event, not knowing if the teams were even able to make it a reality. I'm really hoping this trend of unfinished game releases subsides in the future and that these companies learn from their experiences. For Gentoo and KNWT Channel 8, my name is Trevor, and I will see you next time.
Welcome to another edition of Game Breakers. I'm your host, Wesley Ellington, and this week, like I promised last week, we're going to be playing Madden NFL 19 Long Shot. Now, I've never played this, so I'm kind of behind on the whole story. It's a whole lot of intricacies and everything, so it's in depth, and it's also bad. It's very bad, and it's very loud here, but it's going to be even louder on the field in Madden NFL 19. So without any further ado, let's get into the gameplay. Like I said before, I never played the original Long Shot story mode for Madden 18. But in Madden 19 story mode, it starts off with a talk show talking about where the main characters are at now.
Next up, Devin Wade.
It's been a year now since Wade made a name for himself on the hit show Long Shot, but now he's been signed by the Dallas Cowboys.
The two main characters of the story is Devin Wade and Cody Cruz, and it's about their journey to the NFL. Devin Wade is far more successful than his peer Cody Cruz and where the story begins. While Devin's on the practice squad and even playing in preseason football for the Dallas Cowboys, Cody is focusing on his music career by attempting and failing at playing at local bars and clubs. Now, this, guys, is where I think the story suffers so much. It spends so much time on cutscenes and attempting to draw an emotional reaction out of the viewer by these long, drawn-out cinematic scenes. And I say viewer because there were times where I was playing this game. I put quotes there, but you can't see it because it's voiceover. There was times I was playing this game, I would just sit my controller down and do something else. It honestly felt like I was watching a really bad movie at times. But I digress. The gameplay itself is not terrible. Granted, it's nothing game-changing or game-breaking even. What? Roll credits. But when playing as Devin, it's standard Madden controls. You just have to make the right play. When playing as Colt, you have control over just him. But it is rare because he has a random part where he's like reminiscing over the good old days in high school and you get to play as him. And you also get to play in a regular season game for the Dolphins. And honestly, guys, I know for me, I enjoy playing Colt so much more. I mean, he's fast, he's elusive, and you have so much more freedom with him. You also get to play special teams, which adds a nice element to the mostly dry gameplay. But back to the story. Colt becomes the head coach of his high school alma mater football team, and I don't know if this was particularly on purpose, but when you get to play as a high school team, it's the most fun I had throughout the entire story mode. Honestly, would have been fine playing with the high school team the entire time. Devin then gets the opportunity to play for the Texans, where randomly Antonio Brown is on the team with you. So by this point, you have a better team, but the gameplay stays the exact same. This is honestly the worst part of the game. Nothing changes, and the story mode falls incredibly flat. In closing, it's just something you can do if you have an obsession with low-quality B-movies. But if you value your time, please don't play this game mode. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Game Breakers on Gentoo. Of course, I'm your host, Wesley Ellington, and make sure to tune in next week. We'll be playing UFC 3, My Team.
Hey guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another episode of Monkey Plays. This week I'm playing the new Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackouts Operation Grand Heist. Grand Heist launched on February 19, 2019, and is the second installment of their 4 paid passes. Yes, I already know I reviewed Blackout, but this new update seemed like they were doing a lot of changes, and for the better. And also, all my friends swear it's like a whole new game. I'm excited to re-review Blackout and see what they have done in the new update. At first glance, Operation Grand Heist looked really cool. They were changing up the map a bit, adding new vehicles, and obviously weapon skins and outfits. They also mentioned various bug fixes, exploits, alongside doing weapon tuning, audio adjustments, drop rates, and more. I really hope I like what the new update has to offer, because I really love the Black Ops series, and I hate that I didn't like the first review of the game. So let's start off with the only thing I didn't like about the current state of the game and the new map. And it's a really small one, and I only have this gripe is because similar games allow you to do this. It's automatically switching or adding attachments to both of your weapons regardless of what weapon you're holding. For instance, if I have a Rampart fully kitted and it's full and I don't need any more attachments, and I come over a red dot sight for my second weapon, I'd have to change weapons rather than the red dot being automatically added to the gun. It's a very small gripe, but Blackout was once praised for its looting user interface, and now I feel like it's still lacking. Now the good part, and there was plenty. The first thing I was greeted to when logging in was a wide range of customization options for Blackout itself, which was lacking previously. They added customizable parachutes, foot flares, and wingsuits. They added some new outfits for characters and also gave me a monkey, or a gorilla, your choice. They changed the price of weapon skins, outfits, and reticles, which were horribly overpriced at the start of the game, and finally reworked the microtransactions, and I felt like I didn't waste money buying this game finally. Another feature I enjoyed about the new update was that they added new vehicles, a Mustang and an Escalade. While I hardly found the Escalade around the map, I did find plenty of Mustangs. They handled very well, stuck to the ground very nice, had a very good top speed, and never felt like it was way too hard to drive. Driving the long roads and hitting the makeshift jumps around the map was definitely a highlight of the playthrough. Alcatraz Portal. This full squad game mode gives you the chance at respawning. Mob of the Dead was my favorite zombie map of all time. I spent countless hours playing this map, and a Battle Royale format was a great idea. This mode was actually super fun to play. The map was very small and very fast paced, which you guys know I like. I was just running and gunning. Treyarch really stepped up their game with this update. I had a blast. It's a whole different game than what I reviewed some months back. The game finally feels smooth. The map looks aesthetically pleasing. The outfits are great, prices are low, and the weapon skins look awesome. I'm definitely going to give this game an 8 bananas out of 10. I hope you guys have a nice one. I'll see you guys later. And up next, here's Project Delta with Dalton.
Hello and welcome to Project Delta, where for the second week in a row, I'm an absolute glutton for punishment. Aaron this week was so nice to bring in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Of course, I'm Dalton Speeson. Here is...
I'm Aaron James.
And, you know, I'm ready to die a lot. I think this is going to be more like Dalton dies a million times in 8 minutes. So it's going to be a real fun time as you see me trying not to die. But so obviously this is a game from Software, and they're famous for the Dark Souls series, which is obviously like incredibly hard, and whenever a game comes out and it's hard, it always gets compared to Dark Souls. So here's Sekiro. And I want to know, how do you think that this game stacks up against the other From Software titles?
I haven't had enough time to play it as extensively as I did the other titles. Like the first Dark Souls, I have over 400 hours on just one of my characters. And on this, I've got like 30 hours so far. But it's fastly becoming my favorite just on the combat end. Like the combat itself is so much more fast-paced compared to any of the other games.
Yeah. And so, what's your general experience with these games? They're just kind of like hard, and a lot of people just hate playing them because they are so hard.
When I first started playing Dark Souls, it was terrible. Like I thought there was something wrong with the game, but no, it's usually the player, and these are games that will reward you if you learn all the systems and all the intricacies of the combat. And it gives you a feeling like no others. Now, like, any of them, like your first Souls game will always be harder than any of the other ones, I think. Because it's your first time, like, trying to grasp all the concepts of it.
Of course. And so I've played like literally the first like 30 minutes of Dark Souls 2, and it was quite the time. And oh no.
So now you have a resurrection, and this is a new feature that wasn't in the Souls games. Normally you die, you're done. In this, you can resurrect.
We'll still count it as my first death, of course, because he just straight up wrecked me. But don't worry, I avenged myself. But so yeah, of course, in the Souls games, when you die, and you just have to respawn. But like you were saying, in this one, oh no, that guy snuck up on me. But they do allow you a resurrection. Is that one resurrection per respawn, or?
So as you play the game more, you'll unlock
Death
more
number 2.
resurrection tokens, or whatever you want to call them. And I think it maxes out at 3. That's how many I have right now. And they fill up as you kill enemies and as you play the game. When you use one, it blocks the other 2 out, and you can't use another one like twice in a row. Like if you resurrect and then die, you have to die. But if you resurrect after you die and then kill somebody like you did to that guy, you get it back.
Oh, thank goodness.
And then you can resurrect again.
So I'm also wondering, what's the hardest game you've ever played that wasn't made by From Software?
The hardest game I ever played that wasn't made. I think you're going to have to go first. You answer.
You know, I don't play many hard games. If a game I play is hard, it's because it's glitchy and it's like Sonic 06, where it's just like
trash.
Yeah, the game was just made bad, so you don't get to beat it because the developers were very incompetent. But so, what do you think is your hardest one after hearing my answer, of course?
That's pretty tough. I couldn't tell you, man. I don't know. Like
It's a hard question, of course.
When I think of hard games, like, I don't...
You think Souls?
I guess, because...
have you played any Cuphead?
No, I've not played Cuphead.
See,
it's an Xbox exclusive, and...
Hey, not for long. It's coming to the Switch.
Oh, wow.
But Cuphead, man, I think I don't even know if I beat the first boss in Cuphead. I think I beat the tutorial.
It's harder than Dark Souls.
Which, yeah, Cuphead is the Dark Souls of arcade shooters. But, yeah, no, I don't even think I beat the first boss. I'm just kind of running away.
You need to heal, and then you see how...
I keep forgetting to heal. Yeah, don't worry, I'll figure it out.
You can even hop up into those branches that you've been grabbing.
I just have a fistful of ash. Can I get... There we go. There's some heals. Oh. Dude, look at this. I am nimble. I flow like water. Except I just keep jumping. But yeah, so what do you think about the aesthetic of this game? Obviously, it's set in 16th century Japan, so it's got all the like unique architecture of that era, as well as like the things you'd expect to see when you go to Japan, like cherry blossoms and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think about it? Does it really just add to the experience of the game?
It really gets me going, let me tell you. It's beautiful. I think this game is incredible. All the vistas that they offer, and some of the locations are more on like the fantastical side of like Japanese culture or whatever. It's something. You've got burning empires and giant monkey holes, all kinds of stuff.
That does sound like, I'm running away. Don't worry. Oh,
hold L1 and then mash R1.
Hold up. Okay, L1.
Walk onto one, hold L1 and then mash R1.
I'm mashing.
There you go. Oh yeah, coming in with the kick.
Now I'm running. Back to run. Always on the run. Okay, we'll just hide for a few seconds here.
I got some questions for you.
What kind of questions do you have for me, Aaron James?
You plan on picking up Sekiro?
I do plan on picking it up eventually. I will not pay $60 for it because I give it a 75% chance I get to a really hard boss and I just quit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes adversity, not all of us are willing to push through it. But yeah, I think it's really just a cool looking game, whether or not it's too hard for me or not, because it just I like the sword play, and of course you get to be a ninja, which everybody knows is super cool. But yeah, I'm interested because I really don't know much about the story. I've watched like a playthrough of maybe like the first little bit of it, where it's like you're supposed to be protecting a prince or an heir, and somebody comes and just totally like mops the floor with you and steals him. So you just kind of like you just die, and then it's like some guy finds you and he says, "Oh well, you're not meant to die. You got to go and save your prince." So we start this journey and we just get to die a million times, and it's really what I was looking forward to.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it if you picked it up.
Hey,
Maybe
hopefully,
a little bit more if you started locking on, because you're just kind of swinging at the air a lot of.
That's a pro tip that I probably desperately need.
Good.
Look at that.
Look how easy that was.
Wow, I think I just became a pro.
But that is one of my favorite parts about the game. Is it starts out as kind of a more normal story, kind of like Bloodborne, I guess. Bloodborne wasn't normal, but by the end of it, it's went in a completely different direction than what the game seemed like it was heading.
Yeah. So of course that's pretty much Sekiro. A lot of dying. The story kind of takes a back seat to how much I die. So that's the best part. You die and you die and you die, and once in a while you get that sweet taste of victory when you kill a boss. And you know what, Aaron?
All the monks, like you just did.
All the monks. That was a little bit sweet. But thank you all for coming and watching. I was Dalton Speece, and with me was
Aaron James.
We'll catch you next time.